Well, everybody, hello, and here we are. It's date night with the Mr. and the Mrs. B, and we're gonna get right into it. We want to appreciate everybody's time, but last week episode, Mrs. B was being devil's advocate, and we got some feedback from the women. Taking sides. Our conversation wasn't supposed to be about taking sides, now, but they did anyways. Um, we knew when we had last week episode um, that a lot of people would get strong emotions about the topic. So, but the reason we mentioned last week's episode is because this week's episode, um, we're gonna tap a little bit into last week's episode and show you how everything just blends in together. So tonight's episode, when coping creates resentment.
Resentment.
When coping creates resentment. What the heck does that mean? So, last week's episode, when Mrs. B was being devil's advocate and she talked about um, that, women have intuition and things like that, and how you got to trust your intuition. And I mentioned that, well, a lot of times we keep choosing the same partners over and over again. That puts us in that situation for for those things to happen, whatever it is. And then I went to the book of course, every woman wants four men, every man wants two women. And just for those of you that don't know about the book, although you should by now, um, it's the four men that every woman wants. And by the way, it's in one person.
That's
Okay?
always a constant mistake.
The father figure, the best friend, the handyman, the mandingo lover. That's what every woman wants in a man. And the two women that every man wants is a lady in the street and a freak in the bed or a freak in the sheets. Okay? Now, what happens many times in many relationships, and in the book I talked about how in the beginning of, how relationships used to be back in the old days, sex and intimacy used to be more for procreation than it was for enjoyment. Of course, they enjoyed it, but you know, they would go down when they were planning to have kids. So there was no such thing as vasectomies and tying tubes and all that stuff. People just procreated, and sex was a part of the mix. But that being said, the four men. Let's start with the women. When coping creates resentment, what happens is that many times in some relationships, one or two of those four men are missing, or vice versa. When you know you may have the lady in the streets, but you don't have the freak in the sheets, or you might have the freak in the sheets, but you don't have the lady in the streets, right? And what happened is that many times we tend to
Cope or settle.
settle, cope or settle. Basically means the same thing, but we're coping with it, we're dealing with it, okay? So sometimes because of our upbringing or whatever, we were raised that, hey, once I say I do, I'm in for the long haul. And you should, by the way. That's your vows did say when you're married to someone, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. You guys know the deal. You've seen it in the movies if you haven't already said it yourselves. But many times we get into those relationships and we're coping. We're coping with the situation that this person is not the full mix. They're not the foreman. They're not. They may be the father figure, but they're not the best friend,
Or the handyman.
or the handyman, or sometimes even the mandingo lover, right? So the woman copes with it. She deals with it, okay? And what happens is over a period of time, coping creates resentment. And that's a situation you don't ever want to be. Now, I'm not telling you that if you're dealing in a coping situation to end the relationship. What we're talking about is understanding what's missing and having the conversations. Now, if you look into all of our episodes, what do we talk about? having conversations,
Having communication all the
having
time.
healthy conversation, not an argument, not disagreement. You're not going to agree on everything, but have a healthy conversation. What may be lacking? Because if it's not addressed now, then that coping creates resentment. See how we went full circle there? We went from the coping creates resentment. And you know, Mr. and Mrs. B, we've been through that, you know, where we caught ourselves coping and we actually had to have these conversations. And they weren't easy conversations,
Nope.
but we had to have these conversations because at the end of the day, when you make a commitment to spend the rest of your life with someone, what type of life do you really want to have? You want it to be a fulfilling relationship. You want fulfillment. You know, just a little bit before we recorded this, you know, I was talking to Mrs. B, and I was like, let's break it down to a simple, basic needs that we all look for. Okay, we all want to feel significant. Now, fellas, take notice. Significance. Okay,
We want to feel valued.
and we want to feel valued. You know, now some people might try to disagree with it. You're lying. We all have that basic human need of significance and feeling valued. And what happens when we feel valued by somebody?
You feel great.
Exactly.
You feel great. Like you can. Your energy is up. You're in a good mood. You're singing. You know, I mean, you're in a fantastic
And what do you
mood.
do with the people that you feel valued by?
You keep them. You want to be around them all the time.
Exactly. You gravitate towards that person. So it's the same thing in your relationships. If you're feeling valued and you're feeling significance, you know, and for the fellas, when it comes to the ladies, validation also. Every single woman wants is for her feelings or what she's going through to be validated. You may have a difference of opinion, but don't discount or not validate those feelings or emotions or whatever it is that she's going through during that time. So when it's all said and done, those things, those human needs is what we need. We're going to gravitate to the people that make us feel significant, that make us feel valued. And the people that don't make us feel valued, what happens?
We go, stay away from them.
We start trying to make distance between them because they don't make us feel significant. You know, so definitely don't just deal with the coping. Okay? Many of us at some point in our relationships, and this is all types of relationship, not just your intimate relationships. Sometimes it happens in our place of employment. We're just coping with the situations that come over, hoping that some way organically
it will change.
it will just change or get better. You know, and it's not. You have to bring about these situations.
That's like, what's that analogy that one uses? You keep, what is it? Cleaning and putting the dirt under the rug.
Yeah, sweeping it under the rug.
Sweeping it under the rug. There you go. And it just becomes a pile, and pile,
Yeah.
By the time you know it, all those little piles become resentments.
Big mound.
Big mound.
and yes, when you trip over and fall on your face, you're not going to feel happy. You're going to have nothing but resentment. But you were coping all this time and just ignoring certain things and sweeping it under the rug. So, again, one of our main things is having those conversations, having communication. That's the key. But what type of communication do you need to have? You know, what type of questions are you asking yourself? So the key is stop the coping today and start having the conversation of how you can start fixing those things. And once again, that's where we come in. As coaches, we can give you the tools to take it to that next level. But it starts by reading the book. You know, we just have our audio book available on Amazon right now. So if you're a person that don't like the reading, you want to listen to the book as you're jogging or driving in your car to work or whatever, it's a 2-hour audio.
Or when you're getting ready to go to work,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you I know for us women, we, you know, put at, well, not every woman, but at least we're doing our hair, we're doing our makeup, you know, whatever. But at the same time, you know, if you have earbuds or something, you're walking through the house, you know, have it in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, part of your morning routine,
And the
you
cool
know.
thing on Audible, you can go back 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So if
Yeah.
you miss something, you can replay it without having to flip pages. And that's a beautiful thing about Audible.
It's like what, 80 pages?
It's 83 or
80,
86
yeah.
pages, but
It's a short read. I
the
mean, even if you pick it
playtime,
up.
the playing time on Audible is 2 hours. Our really good friend John Luna, he was the narrator on the book. So definitely check it out. Every woman wants four men. Every man wants two women. A guide to a lasting, fulfilling relationship. When you sign up for Audible, if you don't have Audible, make sure that the book that you download is Every Woman Wants Four Men, Every Man Wants Two Women, A Guide to a Lasting,
And
Fulfilling
share it with
Relationship.
your friends.
And ask if you find value, which you will,
Yeah.
share it with your friends.
Especially, you know, like us women, you know, we like to talk, you know, amongst our girlfriends, you know, and, you know, about our relationships. We had an episode about that. So
Yeah.
if you think it's 5 stars, and share along that 5 stars to your
Yes,
friends, you
that's
know.
5-star review. Once you listen to the book, you buy the book, or you get it on Kindle. So now we have all three formats:
Mm-hmm.
Kindle, paperback, and Audible. Pick it up and leave that 5-star review. And remember, stop the coping today. It will create resentment. On that note, have a great night. Have a great weekend, everybody. Mrs. B, you're gonna tell them what?
Love up on yourselves. Love up all up on yourselves.
And each other.
And each other.
Have a good night, everybody. Bye.